happening tonight in Vancouver.
Our teams here will be working very closely with local businesses where we have seen an uptick in cases linked to restaurants, other establishments in the service industry.
The pandemic isn't over, but the party is for now in the central Okanagan. A COVID-19 outbreak bringing back a mask mandate and travel warnings.
We thought we had it. Mother Nature reminded us we didn't. And now we have to go back to a few of the hardcores.
A change of plans for one BC region right in the middle of summer. We hear from those in the central Okanagan who are scrambling to adjust to new rules that come into effect at the stroke of midnight.
It's very easy for a fire to start, and it's very easy for a fire to spread.
As the Lower Mainland prepares for another stretch of hot weather, the fire danger rating in Metro Vancouver's parks rises to extreme. Just ahead, how authorities are preparing for the fire risk and more on the heat warnings.
This is City News everywhere.
Is that you, John?
I just waited for my food.
Well, a man is in jail after a violent incident today at Richmond McDonald's restaurant that apparently stemmed from a long wait for food. The Tuesday incident in the Ironwood Plaza by Steveston Highway and Number 5 Road was captured on video and shared online. After workers told the man in the video they were calling the police, you can see him smashing the barrier at the counter, knocking over restaurant equipment, and throwing a garbage can at the employees. Richmond RCMP say the suspect is a 30-year-old man from Delta who fought with officers when they were arresting him.
The heart of party country in the Okanagan is facing new COVID-19 restrictions, mask wearing, a travel warning, and an outbreak is being declared.
We've seen a very rapid increase in cases here in the central Okanagan, even just over the last week.
Now, more than half of BC's 900-plus active cases are in the interior, and most of those are in this region, running either side of Kelowna north to Lake Country, south to Peachland. They're not slamming the door to visitors, but
discouraging any non-essential travel into the central Okanagan region for those people who are not fully immunized.
Those who are fully vaccinated will have to take extra precautions indoors.
There will be a requirement in any indoor public space for individuals to wear a mask.
And though many businesses like bars, clubs, and restaurants where many transmissions have happened can stay open, they will be under the microscope.
We will be reviewing in particular any establishments that have more than 3 cases to determine if they need to close.
Of all the cases in the region this month, 70% are 20 to 39 years old. 45% of those cases linked to known social gatherings, events, house parties. 28%, they don't know the source. Most are unvaccinated. To increase protection, COVID-19 vaccine doses in the region will be 4 weeks apart instead of 7 like they are in the rest of BC. This cluster is localized, but could happen anywhere.
This is a wake-up of what can happen if we start to see introduction, particularly of the more transmissible variants. It can spread very quickly in young people, and while young people may not get as sick, some of them do.
So far, hospitalizations remain low, and few cases in this outbreak are affecting the elderly or children. Still, a wake-up call: the pandemic is far from over.
So I think it serves as a reminder that it's time to get vaccinated if you're not yet vaccinated.
For City News in Victoria, I'm News 1130's Lisa Yuzda.
And the concern for the interior health region is reflected in the latest COVID-19 case numbers. 185 new infections were reported on Wednesday. Of those, 113 are from the interior health region. Of the active cases across the province, 47 are in the hospital and 20 are in the ICU. On the vaccination front, 80.9% of eligible people 12 and older have now received their first dose, while 63.2% have received their second dose.
I think businesses are trying to catch up with what this actually means.
This is just a great reminder that if you don't play by the rules, look what's happened.
Things are changing for those in the central Okanagan, which means businesses and travelers will potentially need to adjust their summer plans immediately.
What we don't want to see, or what we don't want to have happen, is to regress and find ourselves with more stringent travel restrictions across the province yet again.
Well, Judas, the CEO of the Tourism Industry Association of BC, says he's worried for businesses in Kelowna and the surrounding areas trying to recover from previous COVID-related closures, just to now be hit again with reinstated restrictions.
It's a little too soon to tell whether they are seeing cancellations. However, I suspect that some travelers will think twice about visiting the interior for now, or at least hold off for the time being.
We don't want it to go beyond this. We really want to make sure that we can, again, enjoy the summer and keep businesses afloat. They've needed this so badly. Let's make sure that we continue to invite people to the region, enjoy people being in the region, and keep everybody healthy and safe.
BC Liberal health critic and Kelowna Mission MLA Renee Merrifield says she was disappointed the region is being singled out and is also worried for local businesses.
You know, they're hanging on by a thread. They have been through a rough 2 years, and this does not help anything with respect to that. And again, it just really instills that yo-yo fear. You know, are we, aren't we? Are we, aren't we? And I think that it creates a lot of confusion within the general public.
As frustrating as it may be, some businesses like the operators of Big White Ski Resort are taking the new measures in stride.
Come up the mountain, you're now going to have to wear a mask inside. Now, this shouldn't be foreign to anybody.
Michael J. Ballingall is encouraging everyone in the community to do their part and respect the new restrictions.
It's the people that aren't visiting our resort but are visiting the area. Now we're asking you, if you don't have a reason to come, if you're not double vaccinated, you know, look at the rules that Dr. Barney has once again set down for us.
Judas warns what's happening now in the central Okanagan could easily spread to other parts of the province, which would only create more uncertainty in the industry.
Hopefully it will only be localized and it will be dealt with, and we'll see those case numbers being reduced and people can feel safe about traveling anywhere in the province.
In New Westminster, Ashley Burr, City News.
During this time, we just encourage people to be extra vigilant so we don't have a fire starting in the region.
It's not just the interior of BC that's susceptible to wildfires. Metro Vancouver has increased the fire danger rating in its parks and greenways to extreme as the already dry region prepares for another stretch of hot weather.
What that means when we move to extreme is that it's very easy for a fire to start, and it's very easy for a fire to spread.
Grouse Mountain Regional Park is one of the 23 Metro Vancouver parks under an extreme fire danger rating. During times like these, park visitors can expect increased patrols and enforcement.
So what we're looking for people to do is to not have campfires, to not use briquette barbecues or stoves, and to only use propane barbecues and cooking stoves in designated areas such as picnic shelters, group campgrounds, and always under your direct supervision, so never leave them unattended.
All regional parks continue to be open, but that could change.
So if we start to see some fire activity within our parks and green spaces, then that would prompt us to move towards closures. If we do find people who are not following the rules and engaging in high risk or prohibited activities, they could be subject to fines ranging from $500 to $10,000.
Environment Canada has issued a heat warning for Metro Vancouver as daytime highs will reach the low 30s between now and Saturday. The heat is not expected to be as bad as the deadly heat dome in June, but in Vancouver, Mayor Kennedy Stewart says the city is ready to respond with extra resources if the situation worsens, particularly for those most vulnerable to the heat.
If things get worse, we'll move to a level 2 emergency, which now through the course of our review is contemplating, for example, keeping cooling centers open 24/7 until the heat waves pass.
After this 3-day run of well above average temperatures where we get into the 30s, it will cool down a little bit on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, at least briefly. But the big story there is it's still going to be relatively humid, and the overnight lows, at least into early next week, will still be really warm.
In Vancouver, Kier Junos, City News.
Now, as those high temperatures continue across the province, the organization in charge of emergency communications operations in BC is warning of high call volumes and lengthy waits on non-emergency lines. ECOM says that 36% of the calls made to 911 get redirected, a drain on valuable resources. ECOM is asking the public to do its part by keeping 911 lines free for police, fire, and ambulance emergencies.
Most common calls to redirect are thefts that occurred in small quantities. There are vehicle collisions perhaps that are not real time and where you really need to call ICBC or the insurers. Cases of fraud where you may not have been a victim but it was attempted and you should call the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. And we get a fair number of calls that are more about parking violations, for example, which are really city bylaw calls that should be directed to city services.
Ecom says it received just under 1.9 million emergency calls in 2020. Well, a few dozen community members gathered in front of the Richmond courthouse today for the appearance of a man who allegedly made racial slurs toward a staff member at Rocanini Coffee Roasters in Steveston in March. Michel Jean-Jacques Berthon was charged with mischief, and today, when he left the courthouse, he got into a heated exchange with protesters. A warning that the following video does contain racist language.
Say that again. Yes, I will say that again. Yeah, please. You brought the coronavirus in this country and you're killing our people. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And you Chinese are holding two of our men in jail. In China. Yeah, you heard me. What's that? Yeah. No, you're blocking the view there. Let him look. Okay. Our crime is we took some coffee and we threw it on the floor. That's our crime. No, you're searching people. It's got nothing to do with Chinese. You're people. It's not racist. Yes. What is that is racist?
More electric vehicle charging stations are coming to BC. The federal government announced a combined investment of over $1.2 million today to install 91 new electric chargers across the province. This, by the way, is the latest announcement in support of the city's climate emergency action plan.
Part of this plan, by 2030, we want 50% of all kilometers driven on our roads to be driven by zero-emission vehicles. To get there, we need more charging stations for all kinds of vehicles, and we need them all over the city. And today, that's what this announcement's about. The 91 chargers that come with this funding will help the city decarbonize our vehicle fleet and get on the road to a net zero future.
There are currently over 60,000 electric vehicles on the roads in BC. Well, police had traffic blocked in both directions on Highway 1 last night due to an incident near Lonsdale Avenue. Just after 9 p.m., the RCMP received reports that a crash had led to two motorists fighting under the overpass. One man was arrested. Police were forced to close that stretch of Highway 1 as a precaution. And we do have some breaking news from the Summer Games and a big victory for some BC athletes. Rowers Kaylee Filmer from Victoria and Hilary Jensens from Surrey have won the bronze medal in the women's pair race at the Tokyo Olympics. Now, the duo led for most of the race before New Zealand slowly but surely overtook them in the back half and continued into a gold medal win.
How safe do you feel? Crime severity across most of the country decreased for the first time after 5 years of worsening trends. According to Statistics Canada, crime fell by 8% during the first year of the pandemic, begging the question, could this be an ongoing trend? The CSI measures the volume and severity of police-reported crime. According to Stats Can, breaking and entering dropped 16%. Theft under $5,000 fell by 20%. Robbery down by 18%. Sexual assault dropped 9%.
The experience we've had in the last 1 year would suggest that, and this is a one-off.
This criminologist believes the pandemic's health restrictions and stay-at-home orders were a major driver behind the drop in crime, such as a 36% decrease in shoplifting.
Reduction in socioeconomic activities and everyday activities that lead to crimes, partly because of the pandemic. Many of those locations were shut down for months.
Alberta and PEI saw the biggest drops in crime, 11% overall. Manitoba dipped by 10.9%, followed by 9% in Ontario, 8.6% in BC, and 7.7% in Quebec. But not all crimes were down across the board. Homicides across the country rose by 7%. Domestic violence and cyber crimes also jumped. And police reported hate crimes saw the biggest increase of a whopping 37%.
We may continue to see an increase, but it should plateau at some point and then begin to go down as the measures that are being crafted as we speak at the federal level, at the provincial level, at the city level, begin to kick in.
Post-pandemic, he's expecting a return to the 2019-18 crime levels. In Edmonton, Rochelle Sufi, City News.
Vancouver's news is always available on the radio with News 1130 or online anytime at citynews1130.com. Your next edition of City News is tonight at 11. Thanks so much for watching and have a great night.